New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring.
Welcome to Ministers Talking a weekly program where Rev Brz and Rev Z and their guests chat about current affairs, world events, spiritual principles, and any old they want to talk about. Based on the New Thought philosophy and ancient wisdoms, Ministers Talking shares a visionary perspective of the evolving spiral called spiritual living. Join us each week as we explore the emerging paradigm of life on planet Earth and beyond.
And good morning, dear ones. Reverend Robert over here.
Z right here.
Reverend Bill down over here.
And we're a few ministers talking shit this morning. Welcome to Friday. We do this every Friday morning, 7 o'clock here on the Mountain Time Zone. And yes, we have a very special guest with us this morning, our friend Reverend Bill Marchiony from the Center, or from New Thought Philadelphia, an independent New Thought center and community in and around Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. So, Reverend Bill, welcome to Ministers Talking Shit.
Thank you. It is wonderful to be here, and I'm having complete flashbacks to when I used to do zany morning radio shows.
See, we learn stuff about people every time we do this show, folks. So, yeah, you're going to feel right at home here this morning, because this sometimes gets a little zany, but it sometimes gets a little deep, too. And folks, please do feel free to join us in the conversation. Chat along in the comments, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the share button. Let your friends know what we're doing. And feel free to use our email, ministertalk@ntmedia.org, if that works better for you as well. All right. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
We got a lot to talk about this morning. We've been having a great conversation preparing here. And one of the topics we really want to kind of hit on, and mostly because we've got Reverend Bill here, Philadelphia this week announced a return to an indoor mask mandate. It would appear the latest wave of COVID is coming on strong, and Philadelphia is hoping to get out in front of it. Bill, what's the temperature there? What's it feel like? How are people responding to this?
Everybody is very, we're ready to be done with the pandemic. We are ready to be done with COVID, although it seems like we get to be a little bit practical about that, because it seems like COVID is not ready to be done with us. So in Philadelphia, actually in the country, I think we're up 100% in case counts in the last 14 days. So, and if that's going on everywhere, and oh, by the way, you remember how scared everybody was with the case counts in April of 2020? Nationwide, we're at the same case counts, actually a little higher. It was 31,000 then, it's 33,000 now. So, yeah, there's vaccines, and yeah, people are getting used to it, and yeah, Omicron and BA2 MOUSE is not as whatever as the other thing could have been. But that's still a lot of people getting sick. And at this point, everybody knows the story about somebody who's gotten ill, including friends who are sick now, and wondering if they're going to need to go into the hospital, or respiratory therapists and things like that. And so, the pragmatic side says, take care of business. I'm impatient. I would like the case counts to go back down so I can resume my leisure life like I did last June and July.
Yep. I found myself running out of the house last night to pick up my wife from the hospital, and I was like, I don't have a mask. Where's the mask? Go to a hospital, and I don't have. And I used to have a great collection of masks right at hand, and have kind of let that slide a little bit. So, folks, it's the time, I think, to be diligent again. Go dig out your masks, clean them, get some KN95s, whatever it is you like. But we've got to start being a bit more diligent about this again.
Yeah, because also last few days we saw high numbers in D.C. with key political operatives, if you will, that Pelosi and a couple others were infected. So I hate to use that scene with Jack Nichols. I'm back. That doesn't seem appropriate, but yeah, it's amazing of what we as human beings can feel comfortable with and continue to do without any problem, and something that's more life-saving, we fight it. Yeah, it's uncomfortable wearing the mask sometime, and it's definitely not a fashion statement, although during the pandemic there was some fashion statement masks being made. But I think to me, at the heart of the issue is how much do we value life? I mean, I'll wear a mask every day if it's going to, if it's going to save my life and other people's lives. All right, I may not like it.
Right.
I don't like to get up in the morning every time, but I know I got to go to work, so I still get up.
Exactly. Hey, we want to do a quick shout out to our friend here in Colorado, Linda Plasters. Glad to know, Linda. There was folks, if you don't know it, out here in the West, there's no such thing as wildfire season anymore. It's just wildfire time. All year long, any day of the year, any time of the year, a wildfire can break out. There was a wildfire in Colorado here over the last couple of days, and glad to know you're not in harm's way there, Linda. Very glad to know that. Good morning, Fiona, all the way from Geneva, or afternoon where you are. Glad you're with us as well here today. So,
let me just jump in on that one for a second, because
okay.
I lived in Florida for a while, and was there during Hurricane Andrew, which was quite extraordinary. And there are earthquakes and wildfires and tornadoes in other parts of the country, and we don't really get very much of that in Philadelphia. So I consider myself blessed to note that we do not have wildfire season over here. We have rain every once in a while.
The Schuylkill River fills up and floods over a little bit on the highway there, and
that did happen last year. That was uncomfortable.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. However, well, and let's say it this way: Philadelphia was safe this week because you guys didn't get a subway shooting.
We did not. Although, as with everything, the guy has an address in Philly and rented his van in Philly. Everybody, another brush with greatness. Philadelphia touches all the news.
Yes. If you haven't heard, folks, Frank James is his name, 62 years old. And yeah, they found an apartment with smoke bombs and leftover magazines and a stun gun and stuff like that in Philadelphia. So anytime something like this happens, folks, we feel it's a duty to raise up that call and remind people we can have responsible gun ownership in America. We don't now. We don't advocate for, quote, gun control or just eliminating all guns. We have a Second Amendment here. I personally would like to see that repealed, but I know that's never going to happen. Until, we totally readjust America. But we've got to find a way for more responsible ownership. Maybe a national registry. And that's another part. The gun this guy used was purchased in Ohio. So he purchased it in Ohio. How is anybody supposed to know? And this guy's had numerous run-ins with the law in New York City, numerous arrests previously in New York City. Is it possible, guys, for us to have responsible gun ownership in this country, or are we just destined for a new version of the Wild Wild West, where if you don't have one on your hip, you're a target?
Yeah, the statements, if you will, of gun ownership in the founding of this country are so deeply rooted, and so the whole, protect yourself, and one way I'm gonna let go of my handgun when you pry it from my cold dead hands kind of a mentality. It's an uphill battle, and especially when the leaders and legislators that are in the majority right now are all for guns.
Right.
There was a story that I heard this week about, and I think it was last weekend. There was a shootout outside of a bar in Texas, and it started out as a bar brawl, and then it turned into multiple shootings because everybody was armed. And so you think about that. Well, okay, being armed actually didn't keep anybody safe because the bar brawl escalated into a gunfight, which is probably not a good idea. Oh, by the way, let's consider the wisdom of mixing alcohol and firearms anyway.
Right.
So maybe there's another way of approaching that. And the closest that I'm not a gun owner. I know how to shoot. I have some targets with some holes all the way in the middle of them, and I don't have a need to own a gun. Just because I shoot my mouth off so effectively. But, the closest I have to a lethal weapon is a car. And in order to drive the car, I have a license. And I had to prove that I knew how to drive the car safely and with some sort of expertise. And I think that something like that would be completely reasonable for gun ownership, and maybe even with a license renewal to prove that you haven't gone completely off the deep end crazy in the intervening years since the license was issued. The Second Amendment says we can own guns. It doesn't say we all get to own as many as we want.
Right.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
Can I have a bazooka, please? No, you can't have a bazooka.
Unless you're going to sink a Russian ship with it, but that's a story we'll get to later.
Oddly enough, there's the universal principle of it goes by many names: cause and effect, polarity, duality, or dual perspectives, and therein lies the work, right? No matter what point you take, someone else is going to take the other point, right? And so, for me, it seems that the challenge or the hope is that we make the gap between the point A and point B a lot smaller, so that movement between the 2 points is so small that the differences are basically nuances, as opposed to where it is now. The two sides are so far apart that when that pendulum swings from that cause and effect or that correspondence, it creates havoc.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. And remember, folks, we don't pretend to have all the answers here. We pretend to have some answers, and we like to consider, because as Z is saying, it's never just black and white. It really isn't. There are all shades of what happens here, and we've got to remember there is overlaying all of these things we talk about, the mental health concerns that are happening in America and North America, and I imagine in other parts of the world as well, that we're not treating those with mental health issues, but we can let them get a gun. And so much the same way, let's come back to Bill's car analogy. If you go to the doctor and you have surgery or you have something, oftentimes the doctor will say, okay, no driving for 3 days. Or you need to stop driving for a while until we let the healing happen, let whatever it is that's they just pumped into your body take its course. And then once you're back to normal, once you're back to healed, then we can then you can start driving again. We could be doing the same thing, I think, with firearms as well. I'm sorry, Mr. Smith, but we're now in a mental health situation, and we're going to ask you to rescind your guns for a little while. Again, be very hard sell.
Yeah. And the other challenge is the illegal sale of guns, where even the laws and stop gaps that we do have right now aren't followed. Right. They won't buy. I'll go meet someone in the back alley and just buy it out of the trunk with tons of ammunition. It's we have to change the culture, which is what we propose to put forward, right? Create create a world where it works for everyone, and that there's a loving respect for life, that we don't take it so cavalier and just say, well, I'll just shoot this guy, or I'll shoot this girl, or whatever.
Yeah.
That's what it seems like now.
The guy in Sacramento a week or so ago, similar situation, right? Guns, young men clubbing out in the clubs, so we know there's alcohol being mixed in, and this guy went on a live Facebook or broadcast of some sort, pointing the gun at the camera. We know there was some intent to go out and, let's say, create some mischief, and we end up with a very similar experience of a shootout in the streets after the bars closed.
Mm-hmm.
That one's, not everybody was strapped, so not everybody was involved, but so there were probably more hurt in that one, because not everybody. I wish we had an answer to give people, truly.
Yeah, but what it does, it highlights 3 issues that we need to address: mental health, substance abuse, and guns. And given what everyone has gone through in the last couple of years, we know alcohol use and sales are up. They've been reported. We know mental health issues are up. It's been reported. So and gun purchase and violence has gone up. I mean, right there in Philly, Philly is having a real banner year, which is unfortunate on crime right now.
Yep.
Right.
And if we as a collective group, either stand back and say, oh well, that's them, not me, or that's in Philly, not in Colorado, it is like any living thing. It will spread, it will grow, it will get stronger. And it's better to try to put some stop gaps and mitigation steps in plan now, before it gets to a point like there's a thing called a virus that keeps rearing its head because some say we took too long to make any effective moves towards stopping it and vaccinating it, or whatever we were trying to do. Whatever it was, they said, had we done it earlier, the numbers and the results would have been different.
I get into these conversations, and when it's obvious that we're not going to be able to solve this ourselves right here, the 3 of us on on Facebook, that's where the thing that's so important to me is the New Thought teaching, the spiritual principle, to know that we can set an intention for something to happen and not have to figure out how it's going to happen.
Yeah, right.
And surrender it. Sometimes that's so difficult to do. To know that somehow love is unfolding. You look at what's going on in, I think it's Singapore, where they're having a huge outbreak. Well, the fact that they're going to have a huge outbreak now means that it was because they didn't have a huge outbreak before. They kept themselves safe for that long. I think the same thing is going on in Tonga, where they were immune or safe from the virus for the longest time, and then there's a huge outbreak. So, we can look at something that happened and say, oh, well, see, that was the problem. But maybe there's something else that's going on that gets to unfold in a different way. So I don't know that there's a need for lots and lots of gun violence. That seems to be what's going on now. So I get to turn my attention to something different and say, God knows how that's going to change. But that's what I'm inviting.
That's the faith piece, right? The piece that all of us are called to be in is a sense of faith that there is a higher order working itself through, and this dis-ease, if you will, is working its healing experience, is going through its own healing experience.
Yeah. And what sort of a gift is it that the Frank James, the shooter in New York, had such bad aim? I mean, it was a horrible situation. He was really bad at it.
Yeah, true. The gun jammed, and when I first heard the story break, my thought was, oh, and then I heard that nobody died.
Yeah.
Like, when was the last time you heard of a mass shooting in America, folks, where nobody died? So
And,
incremental good, right?
and if you've ever been on the subway in New York City, you know it's. I mean, you got to be extra horrible to be on the New York subway at that time in the morning, and you know, and shoot, and no one, thank God, gets killed, because I was in New York for 15 years riding those subways, and in the morning going to work, they are packed to the max.
Yeah. And they're no less crowded today than they were. They're definitely crowded. All right. Hey, but let's remind folks, if you're wondering what you've stumbled into, this is Ministers Talking Shit. It happens every Friday morning here on the New Thought Media Network. My co-host Reverend LZ and I are here each week, and today joined by our dear friend Reverend Bill Marchiony from New Thought Philadelphia. Let's talk about the other elephant in the room. What happens if Elon Musk actually buys Twitter? So it's been revealed that he owned a 9% stake in Twitter. When the board at Twitter found out about that, they offered him a spot on the board. They offered him a seat on the board. And he said, no, thanks. I'm just going to do a hostile takeover and buy you out. Stock prices for Twitter are up. If you own Twitter, I'd suggest holding on to it for a little bit longer until this shakes out. What do we see here? Is this really about free speech? Is there enough Elon Musk to go around? Would he let Donald Trump back on the platform? Z's got something.
Yeah, well, what I think this is the comic relief. I think he's gonna send a SpaceX rocket to the station. They're gonna send a tweet to the Twitter platform that's going to tell the Tesla car to go do whatever. So they're gonna figure out, he's gonna figure out how to connect all three of these companies together to create a whole nother world of technical opportunities. And so it's, I saw an ad they was making that a lot of the numbers and what he's offering has 420 in it, and 420 is coming up, and he's a big 420 proponent, so of course there'll be all manner of speculation going on in there. But I think at the heart of it, he's an ambitious, rich, probably filthy rich guy that is smart, and he's going after anything his heart's desire.
And he likes to get high and go, hey, I got an idea. Let's go buy Twitter.
Yeah.
So, all right. So is Elon preparing to corner the marijuana industry? Is that what's really happening here?
I mean, he could have a bigger point. Yet to be seen. Stay tuned.
Stay tuned. You heard it here first, folks. Bill,
but he's also trying to bring Jack Dorsey back, the creator of Twitter, who, by the way, just sold one of the EFTs, an EFT for the first Twitter he made for $2.9 million. Now, somebody go figure that out.
Wait, well, I want to check that story, because I heard he offered it for 2.9. But
it was offered originally for $48 million.
Okay. All right. We're going to dig into that story a little bit more, folks. But Bill, what do you see in all this?
I see the same dance that's been going on since social media became possible. I was involved in when the printing industry turned into the digital printing industry, and we had the ability to personalize the content that we were printing and sending to people. And now it's all gone online, so we can personalize everything. And the first time I considered making a personalized magazine where you get the news that's tailored for your tastes, I was aghast. Because if I can choose what I'm interested in and that's all that I hear about, that could be a problem. And the word for that now is echo chamber. And I'm all in favor of free speech and letting anybody say anything that they want on Twitter. Although some people say things that are offensive, which is their right. But they also say things that are not true. And because there's nobody fact-checking and there's nobody moderating, you can tell who a journalist is by the retractions, by the ways that they say, yeah, we got this one wrong.
Right.
There are a lot of news platforms, and especially Twitter, where people are just BS crazy and never retract anything, and other people are quoting them. And that's, I think, where the challenge comes in. And it's going to wind up being a real difficulty as we balance free speech with the need for some semblance of balance and truth in the world, because we're getting upended at this point.
Yeah.
Is Elon Musk the guy to do it? I'm not so sure.
Yeah, that's yet to be seen as well. Hey, I did find this story, Z. So here it is, folks. The original tweet was sold last year for 2.9.
Yep.
The guy that bought it offered it up at 48 million at auction. And the article I'm looking at says the high bid was $280.
Yeah, no, I think they said it was worth $9,968, a 2.9 million drop from what it was. You know, but you know, when as eclectic as Mr. Musk is, and Jack Dorsey, because you got to remember, Jack Dorsey, he was at he never graduated college. He was at Mizzou, he was at NYU. He never finished either of those, but he went out and started this platform, kind of like a Steve Jobs and Bill Gates, who both went to college and dropped out. And I'm not sure what Elon Musk's pedigree is from that perspective. But an interesting tidbit is this for me, that these guys were all at great schools, but they chose to go different than the traditional way, or fall into the traditional model of what we define as success, and have been massively successful, right? And so when we look at it from a New Thought perspective, you know, the first sentence of the Science of Mind textbook, Ernest says, "I look forward to the day that spirituality and science, or religion and science, walk hand in hand." And that means to me, when we begin to look at things in a more unconditional or unfamiliar way, we will begin to expand and expose the greatness of who and what we are. And I think in a lot of ways, that's what's happening with these guys. But, you know, you got to have a check and a balance on it.
Yeah, for sure. Hey, folks, we're going to take a quick moment and say thank you to some people, mostly our sponsors and those that make this network possible. Please stay with us. We'll be right back with more Ministers Talking Shit right after this. Stay tuned.
Thank you, Center for Spiritual Living Denver, for your continued support. Thank you, Center for Spiritual Living Midtown Atlanta, for your monthly contribution. Thank you, Center for Spiritual Living North Jersey, for your monthly contribution. And please help us welcome Om Center for Spiritual Living in La Mesa, California. Thank you for your monthly donation. Thank you, Center for Spiritual Living Seattle, for your most generous donation. And a special thanks to Hefferlin Foundation for your generous technology grant. And Suze Ajit, thank you for your very generous donation. And a super special thank you to Dr. Tracy Brown, RSCP. Thanks for being a super donor. And a big shout out to all our committed donors.
Yes. Thank you to all of our committed givers. If you'd like to become a part of our committed giving program, please head on over to the website, ntmedia.org. Click on the donate button, make it a monthly donation, and we'll get you on the next version of our thank you video as well. All right, gentlemen, folks, and if you don't know, folks, we've officially extended the time frame on this program to 35 to 40 minutes. So we got a little bit more here, and we never finish in 30 minutes anyway, and nobody's on until the quarter of the hour. So let's get into some final thoughts. What can we give to folks in light of all this rambling conversation? What would you like folks to take away from this today? Rev Z?
Yeah, I think, given the Holy Week, as we have said, this is where we have three major religions looking for spiritual renewal and upliftment. One of the key things of all of this is we're one human family, no matter what perspective or what vision we have. And as they say in the Black community, we may have come over here in different ships, but we're all on the same boat now. So we need to take care of this boat and take care the health of it so that we can all get to the destination safely. So we're all in the same boat. Let's work together to solve these problems.
Yes. Reverend Bill?
Be curious. Be curious. When the Russian flagship sinks because of a fire on board, be curious. How did the fire start? Because it's possible it started by a missile strike, and there's a different version of the story that is the truth. Today is Good Friday, and when I was growing up, there were lots of angry protests, Christians, saying that the Jews killed Jesus, and my thought was, why do you call it Good Friday then? Because there's a bigger picture. Without Good Friday, there's not the possibility for Easter. So there's something blooming. There's something that is possible here. And we are being invited to let go of what's led up until now, when it's obvious that it's not working, or even when it's become really comfortable. That's the way we've always done it. I got my Second Amendment rights, and that's what that means. By being able to be curious and let go of our assumptions that what we've already done is okay, that opens us up to brand new possibilities. And that's where the magic happens.
Yes. Thank you. For me, today really feels like one of those days to remember, hug your family, hug your friends, tell people you love them, because deeply we really are one. And we don't need to shoot our brothers and sisters. We need to love our brothers and sisters. So we invite you to go out there and make today a great day, make every day a great day. And thank you again for being with us here on the New Thought Media Network. Stay tuned. It's Friday. We've got all kinds of great stuff going on. Be Your Own Hero with Sekou Wright starts in just about 10 minutes. Our morning prayer at 8:15. Morning Sip with Rev Melissa is actually on their evening schedule because of Pray with the Moon. So no morning sip this morning. It'll be later today. But we do have the good news at 5 p.m. Mountain Time tonight, and the fireside chat with Pastor Michael at 6. So stay with us, share, and remember that tomorrow we'll have Dr. Tracy Brown on the Science of Mind and Spirit Conversation Series, 9 a.m. tomorrow morning. Gentlemen, thank you for being with us this morning. Much love. We're going to get out of here and wish everybody a great weekend. Until next time, folks, peace and blessings.
Peace.
And thanks for listening to this week's episode of Ministers Talking. We'll be back again next week with more commentary on current affairs, world events, and any other our ministers want to talk about. And if you found value here, please share our with your friends. Until next time, peace and blessings.